The unconscious is the ground of all existence, the eternal abyss from which all being flows and to which all being returns. Eduard von Hartmann was a German philosopher best known for his work on the unconscious, which to him was a fundamental force that drives both the natural world and human behavior, influencing everything from individual psychology to cosmic evolution. He bridged pessimism and idealism, suggesting that life is characterized by suffering, but also driven by a teleological process aimed at overcoming it. He believed in a collective redemption rather than individual salvation, advocating that the ultimate goal of the universe was to free itself from irrational will and achieve a return to a state of peace. His ideas influenced psychoanalysis, especially Freud, and had an impact on later existential philosophies. Much like his mentor Schopenhauer, Hartmann enjoyed financial independence and didn't have to cater to academic trends or media demands. He wrote his works free from personal or material interests, a rarity for his time. Both Hartmann and Schopenhauer were uninterested in personal prestige. Their freedom allowed them to explore deep, complex ideas that resonated with readers looking for depth rather than the brevity favored today, as seen in contemporary thinkers like Byung-Chul Han. Hartmann's scientific background, shaped by his military training, further enriched his philosophy. He believed in applying the inductive methods of science to explore natural and spiritual phenomena, introducing his dynamic metaphysical principle, the unconscious. He posited that within the unconscious, two forces interact, will and representation. Hartmann drew parallels to masculine and feminine principles in German, echoing the Eastern yin and yang concepts he admired in Laozi's Tao Te Ching. Unlike Schopenhauer, who saw representation as merely subjective, Hartmann contends that the unconscious itself has an underlying teleology even though this purpose is not consciously accessible. Life is ultimately directed toward the reduction of suffering and the gradual self-negation of the will, much like Schopenhauer's. But in Hartmann's view, this is orchestrated by the unconscious itself, moving all things toward eventual self-overcoming. This laid the groundwork for later psychological theories, and many of Hartmann's insights can be seen reflected and developed in Jung's theories. Hartmann presented the concept of the unconscious as a dynamic, nearly independent force that influences human thought and behavior outside of conscious awareness. The collective unconscious serves as a repository of shared symbols, archetypes, and psychological patterns that affect individuals in ways they might not fully grasp. Nietzsche's famous theory of the eternal return may have also been partially influenced by Hartmann's idea of a repeating cosmic cycle where the irrational will drag existence back into suffering. Figures like Madame Blavatsky and Rudolf Steiner drew from his ideas on the unconscious to explain paranormal phenomena such as telepathy and clairvoyance. Hartmann also critiqued the optimistic belief in technological and scientific progress, arguing that these advances could sometimes exacerbate human suffering or create new forms of problems. His skepticism about human progress and his belief that collective redemption, rather than individual salvation, was the key marked him as a unique figure of his time. In Hartmann's work, the feminine is tied to the unconscious and creation itself, playing a pivotal role in the spiritual elevation of humanity. Further setting him apart from other pessimists, he remarried after becoming a widower, raising a total of 6 children. However, despite recognizing the spiritual significance of women, his views still mirrored the 19th century gender roles, far from modern feminist ideals. With Hartmann's death in 1906 and the rise of Nietzsche, a new philosophical path emerged, one that, while different, would shape contemporary thought. His work, akin to the swan song of classical German philosophy, parallels Mahler's culmination of the German symphonic tradition. Both figures passed away around the same time, marking the end of an era. Through these ideas, Hartmann bridged Schopenhauer's pessimism and Hegel's idealism, achieving a significant philosophical synthesis. Through his explorations, Hartmann challenges us to confront the inherent struggles of life while also recognizing the depth of our emotional and spiritual experiences. His philosophy invites us to reflect on our own lives, to understand the intricacies of our desires, and to find solace in the shared human experience of suffering.